Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Hills of Greatness. Let's talk about it. Our theme this session is Your Voice Matters. Let's Politic. We have some phenomenal speakers here with us today. City Councilman Miguel Melendez, our Mayor Lovely Warren, our representative from Michigan, our special guest, Representative Jewel Jones, our first Latina legislator, Eversha Roman, our minority leader. And we also have a great guest here as well, Senator Cooney. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming here today. And I also want to thank all the youth who are on today for being here on a Saturday. So let's give them a hand, okay? We got to give them a hand because they're here on a Saturday. I want to first give a moment of silence for all those we've lost in this past year to the pandemic. So let's give them a moment of silence. Thank you. Again, we're on Your Voice Matters, and let's talk about it. I want to first introduce my co-host for today, a recent college grad from St. John Fisher, a fierce leader in the community since she was, I think, running around in diapers, I think, because she's been everywhere. Okay. She's a former Conkey Cruiser and still participates with the Conkey Cruisers. Our lovely Renita Williams.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today. I know it's going to be a great event, and I'm just excited to be able to co-host and get started.
Yes, yes. So the first person I want to address, we have one question for everyone that I'm going to just throw it out there for you to save for later while we're going to be doing each one of you individually. Renita came up with a great question. What is your why? So think about that while we're introducing people and we're being able to ask you other questions ahead of time. If you have any questions that you would like to ask anybody or all the panelists here or speakers here, there's a Q&A at the bottom. We will be monitoring them and we might pull you in to ask them live, okay? So once again, thank you for coming. Mayor Warren, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time out today out of your schedule to come on. I really appreciate it. You were in 2010, you were the first city council youngest president.
Yes.
You had been on city councils for quite some time. And then you ran for mayor and they told you it wouldn't happen, but you still believe. Can you please tell me a little bit of what made you believe that you can be today's?
That is the people of our great city. And I want to thank you, Gina and Renita, and all the great panelists that are here today. So excited to have such esteemed people and to be here with each of you. For me, it was truly about the people of our city and what I was seeing at the time. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to, when I was on city council, to meet the now city councilman Miguel Melendez and Renita, and we was we were working in Northeast Rochester. Northeast Rochester was the most challenged part of our city, had a lot of challenges, and it still today has a number of challenges. And we were fighting for just to get the crumbs. And it was just this major project that really spoke to me. Assemblyman David Gant was my mentor. He's the first African-American elected to state office from the city of Rochester. And I worked for him for a number of years. And we were working on this project at the Genesee Brewery. And I remember this woman who lived in one of the housing projects that was across the street. her coming in and, really was really frustrated because there had been these buildings that were run down. They had been there for about 20 years, empty. A lot of unsavory activity was happening behind those buildings. And you had this company that had been around for over a century that wanted to demolish it, wanted to make $1 million investments, wanted to hire people from the community. And you had all of these people from outside of the neighborhood that was coming in and saying, you can't do that, and coming up with these plans. And so working alongside Miguel and the other folks in the neighborhood, we came up with the plan that we were not going to let this project die. And we went and met with the company and was able to get those buildings demolished, get people working, as well as this new business, the brew house. And I remember this woman came in from across the street, St. Simon, and she spoke at the hearing, the zoning hearing, and she said, just because I live in low-income housing doesn't mean that I'm low. And to me, that really resonated with me. And it told us that, we are always trying to speak for other people when they have a voice themselves. And so today, when you're talking about your voice matters, everyone has a voice, and we need to listen. We need to hear. We need to listen to the people that are in the neighborhoods that are saying certain things. And I am excited because after many, many years, after being elected over a decade and becoming mayor, now in that same challenged neighborhood where we had less than $2 million worth of development happening year after year, at this moment in time, right now, today, we have over $110 million of development going on in Northeast Rochester, where Ranita and her young people ride the trails and all of that. And that wasn't easy work, but it was because we stuck together. We knew what we were fighting for, and we worked with the people in our community to bring it to fruition. And so to me, that, being able to represent the voiceless and the people that think they don't have a voice and raise their voices to a level that where it matters was something that resonated with me and the reason why I wanted to run for mayor.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question because you were, again, the first female mayor and the youngest president at City
I see you, Michelle.
and the youngest president city council. What would you tell our youth today about learning politics in school, or interning, or volunteering in campaigns, or even following politics?
I would tell our youth to never give up and to get involved. Many of our young people, from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council to Teen Empowerment to, YVOV, we have a number of youth organizations that are raising their voices right now. We have Conky Cruisers. We have so many of our young people that have expressed themselves of what they want and how they want it. And I think that by getting involved, by writing letters, by volunteering on campaigns, or even coming and sitting down with your mayor, your council person, it's one of the reasons why even for City Hall, I started the internship program where we not only have young people that are in our Summer of Opportunity program working inside of City Hall, we have started programs where our college students are able to come in and be able to work with different departments. I'm excited because, that was something that I started when Jeremy Cooney was my chief of staff, and now he is a senator. And so when you think about watching people grow and people reach new heights, it's always about lifting as you climb. And that's what we really want to do, is make sure that we build a staircase that our young people can walk up and walk behind us and leave the door open for them. And so for our young people, I tell you, never give up. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams, that you can't accomplish your dreams. If you work hard for it and you put in the work, now nothing's going to be given to you. I'll say that. It's not going to be given to you. But if you put in the work and you do what you need to do, we are definitely going to make sure that you achieve the dreams that you want to achieve.
Okay. And the question that we'll be asking everyone, what is your why? Mhm.
What is my why? So my daughter is my why. My husband, my family, the children and the people of the city are my why. My ancestors are my why. And, I think about when I was in high school and I had a really hard time. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my life, in my mouth, but, my, early years were really great for me. My mom worked at Kodak, my dad worked at Xerox, and we had a great life. And then my father was introduced to drugs, and that really impacted my life and changed things for me, where I really just wanted to give up and was really angry and fighting, especially when I was in high school. But I had a teacher, an administrator, Mr. Bless Thomas, and I had support, so I can't say that I was out here by myself, but Mr. Bless Thomas really took a liking to me and, really said, I want you to look in the mirror every day and tell me what it is that you want, tell yourself what you want to accomplish. What do you want to be? And I said, well, I want to be a lawyer. He said, well, if you're going to be a lawyer, then you have to stop doing what you're doing. And you have to tell yourself that you can accomplish that. You have to, the only person standing in your way is you. And if you keep doing the things that you're doing, you will stop yourself from achieving those dreams. And, when you're 30 years old and you're looking back and you didn't accomplish your dreams, the only person that you have to blame is yourself. Because right now you can make a decision to change. And, even though that was the hardest thing for me to do, I was able to do it because I had somebody that believed in me, that was outside of my family, but also that put the onus back on me. And, and that to me meant a lot. So I think about those times where I didn't know whether I would see tomorrow, because I wanted to give up. But because I had so many people pulling for me and I was for myself, like, look, I'm not going to give up. These are challenging times, but I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and faith. I believe that I'm where I'm at today because God blessed me, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today had he not shown me grace and mercy and favor. And so those things are my why.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm going to go into really quick before Renita introduces the next person. Senator Cooney, do you have time? Because I know you had to leave.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Gina.
I just wanted you to tell a little bit about yourself and how you become who you become. I know you have the caucus this weekend, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to come in and just say hi to everyone and tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Gina, and I'm glad to be able to say hi to all these amazing people on this panel, including my former boss, Mayor Warren. It's always good to hear her story and remind us of the opportunities that can be given through hard work. So you mentioned, Gina, that there is a caucus this weekend. It's a very important caucus as part of New York State. So I serve as the New York State Senator for the majority of the city of Rochester, the town of Brighton, and the West Side suburbs. And the caucus stands for the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian caucus. And this is actually, we're celebrating our 50th year this year of recognizing the trailblazing legislators that have come before me, including Assembly Member David Gant and so many others, and the importance of having diversity in our legislators, because we want the people who are making the laws for the state of New York to reflect what the state of New York looks like, right? So let me just tell you quickly about who I am and my background. I also grew up in the city of Rochester. I had a single mom, and I'm blessed to have had her for as many years as I did. I did lose her a few years ago due to cancer. But for those of you who may be watching who have a single parent, you know that it's the community that helps raise you. So I grew up off of South Avenue. I was active in Boy Scouts. I was active in my church community, Christ Church downtown. I was at school number 12 and did all the after-school programming at South Ave Rec. My first job was at the former Highland Branch Library. Now it's the Douglas Branch Library. And that was the community that helped raise me. So my why is for the community that helped raise me. It's that responsibility that we have to each other. And we're going through a real tough time with this pandemic. And I'm encouraging all of you who are watching or listening, if you know someone who's eligible for the vaccine, please have them do that. We want to keep everyone safe. We're not through the woods yet, but right now the community is coming together in the city to help get people to vaccination sites. Neighbors are driving neighbors. Right now, today, people are out flyering in neighborhoods across the Southwest and the Northeast and the Northwest to make sure that folks have the opportunity to go to the new Hawkeye site right on Avenue E in St. Paul. So that's what Rochester's all about. And that's what raised me. That's what raised so many people on this panel. And public service or working in government is an opportunity to give back, and that responsibility to the next generation. I remember when I was working for Mayor Warren, she used to always talk about young Taylor who's growing up before our eyes right now. She's so tall. But I'm at the point where I'm starting my own family someday. I want that, right? And I want to have a community that meets the needs of my family and then for your families too. So I'll stop there. Great to see you all. I got to pop back over to Albany on Zoom. But it's good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming on, Senator Cooney. We appreciate you. All right, Renee.
All righty, so our next guest today is City Councilman Miguel Melendez Jr. He is a Rochester native. Professionally, Miguel is the Chief Community Engagement Officer at Ibero-American Action League, sharing his time and talents to improve planning efforts, create partnerships, enhance case management services, and support residents in improving quality of life in their neighborhoods. So welcome, City Councilman Melendez. I remember when I just called you Mr. Miguel, and now I get to say City Councilman Melendez. So it's so awesome to have you on today. So the first question for you is, who are your role models that prepare you for community engagement and becoming a leader?
Thanks for that question. For me, I have a family history of community engagement. My uncle, Julio Vasquez, who many of you may know, was the former CEO of Ibero years ago. And that sort of laid some of the foundation that I have. But I would say that my main mentors would be in my family. My father was a very strong person who was one of the most humble people that I've ever met in my lifetime. And I say that as, for me, I lost my mother and my father both before I was age 15. So that's had a tremendous impact on my life. But professionally, I'm fortunate to work with Eugenio Marlin, who is a great mentor to me. He does a lot of work in our community around community development. He's really helped shape me in terms of how I think about engaging residents in the community, making sure that we're putting people first, and being a role model in a sense of how he carries himself every day. So those are just a few folks that I would say.
Awesome. So how does community voices matter in who you have become today? How has kind of like the community behind you impacted you?
Yeah, so for me, I really believe in bottom-up grassroots organizing. People have the power. Sometimes they just don't realize they have the power. So making sure that in everything we do, we start with knocking on doors, talking to people, and understanding what are their true needs and what are their interests, and how can we position people to help move this city forward. So a lot of my work has been professionally in the El Camino neighborhood. We've done a lot of work there. Mayor Warren mentioned some of the projects. I would like to highlight one little park in the neighborhood called Conkey Corner Park, which Renita knows very well. That park was really a bottom-up approach. When we first started the conversation, people in the community said, well, we're gonna build a park for drug dealing. What's that gonna do? And as we began to go around and talk to neighbors and really get their interests, the neighbors designed that playground. The neighbors really put forward an effort to say, we're going to also come out and build that playground. And we had probably over 200 people came out for the community build of that playground. And since then, a lot of different efforts, such as the El Camino Trail, El Camino Estates, which is housing in that neighborhood, has occurred. Conky Cruises, which is a tremendous asset to that neighborhood. Everything builds off each other. And I would say that what we have to do more of in this community and in this city on the whole is try to bring people together, not fight over things that necessarily, let me say it this way, we have to find ways to support each other, to identify the challenges, and then figure out how we're going to work together to fix the challenges. I think there's a lot of challenges that we face in our community that oftentimes we want to blame someone or something. I think we have to work together to say, we're going to figure this out together.
Absolutely. That is a very good point. You know, kind of coming together and believing in one another and believing in the city of Rochester and making it a better place. So I just want to say, you know, what is your why? What pushes you to wake up every morning and do public service? It is something that is very tasking at times and does kind of take a hold on yourself and your family and those around you. So what keeps you going every day?
Yeah, thank you. A lot of things keep me going. Seeing the small victories keeps me going. When we make incremental progress, when a neighbor calls me and says, you know, this is going on in my neighborhood, what do I do? How can I move the needle on something? How can I make some progress with a particular issue? And when we make that progress, that's what keeps me going. I would say that, you know, I kind of mentioned this earlier in my intro, but my motivation has always been my family. And now I have 3 young ones in my circle, and seeing them raised up in this Rochester that we know, I want them to see a better city and a better community overall. I want to see a better education system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a product of city schools, went to East High School, and I was taught the value of an education because my father dropped out of school in the 7th grade. And for me, that being instilled in me is what I want to make sure I instill in not just my family, but young people across the city of Rochester. And I think just because of your circumstances, it doesn't dictate your future. And I think we have a lot of neighborhoods and communities where there is apathy, and there's no question that we have challenges, but we collectively and together can see a different future for this city. And I'm living proof of that. And I think that the communities that I'm working in across Rochester, I'm hoping that I can spread my wings and help others fish and help others learn how to improve quality of life here in the city of Rochester.
Thank you. Thank you, City Councilman Melendez.
Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Gina, you on?
Thank you so much. That was awesome, both of you and the mayor. For you and the mayor, what were the challenges? Can you name some of the challenges that were faced, that we can face? That was a question that was put in here. It says, can you name some of those challenges that were faced?
Yeah, I can start. You know, one of the pressing issues that we're working on still is the opioid epidemic in the city. And the North Clinton Avenue corridor, unfortunately, has been known for the heroin problem for some time. And we've had various strategies to try to address that. One of the major issues has been that people who tend to be visiting that neighborhood don't live in that neighborhood. And then we're leaving a lot of syringe litter and other things behind in the community. So people who you know, hardworking just as everyone else, would have to identify a way to address, you know, 300 needles in a vacant lot on their street. So what I would say is some of the ways we've addressed it, and we've seen huge gains in this community, is we've partnered with Trillium Health to create a path towards needle cleanup on a consistent basis. We've worked with community members and others to address the prevalent open air activity by doing positive things, not just looking at it from a policing perspective, but how do we program vacant spaces in the community, vacant lots. One of our big victories, and the mayor may want to speak to this some more, is the International Plaza on North Clinton Avenue. What was once a location for chronic overdoses, to be frank, and the amount of lots of needles in the community, now is a vibrant hub for economic activity with pop-up vendors and businesses in the lot and in the space. And so the way I look at it is we can't just address some of the challenges we face with one tool. We have to look at how many different tools can we bring together, whether it's housing, addressing litter, and then figuring out how can we create more development opportunities in our community. That's the more sustainable path towards addressing some of our chronic problems.
And I'll just add, I won't repeat because I know we have other guests and the guests from out of town in Michigan. So I want to give way to Representative Jones. But, one of the other problems that we're facing, I know that our young people really want to know about this, and that's policing in our community. As for, decades, generations, policing has been challenging when it comes down to Black and Brown communities. A number of years ago, the reason why, I fought so hard to bring body-worn cameras here was so that we could see what the community was telling us existed, and those body-worn cameras have revealed a lot. And we're working right now to change that. I'm thankful for Councilmember Melendez and others from our community to sit on the panel. We are right now looking at how do we redesign, reorganize, reinvent policing with the help of certified social workers, taking away certain aspects of policing that officers currently do. And I think that that's important. Unfortunately, we had the tragic death of Daniel Prude here, which really rocked our city. Just recently, we had a 9-year-old that was pepper sprayed, a child. And as she said, as she called for her dad, was pepper sprayed. And so there's a lot that needs to happen around making police officers understand that this is not an adversarial relationship. This is about compassion, and you can protect and serve without degrading and demeaning people. And we are going to do what we have to do. As a city, there's some advocacy that we're going to need from everybody in our community to make some changes and state laws, but there are things that we're going to do locally. That's not going to be easy. But I can assure you that we have a city that's committed to making those changes. And now, it's one of those things that when you say you see, now that body-worn cameras have revealed to you the truth, what are we prepared to do about it? And I'm not prepared to sit on the sidelines and just let it happen. And so we're going to do the work that needs to be done to change the culture, to work collectively together so that we can lift as we climb.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And now we have Eversha, I should say our minority leader and county legislator, Eversha Roman. She came here when she was the age of 4, had various struggles throughout growing up. She is now, she was working with the Center for Youth Services for many years, and now is at United Way. But she is the first Latina to ever be elected into office. So welcome, Eversha, for coming here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here, super excited to talk with everyone in regards to the opportunity I've been granted to serve.
Awesome. Who or what encouraged you to run for office?
Well, that's a great question. Again, thank you both for having me here today. So What motivated me to run? I grew up in Rochester's Northeast Side, right in the shadows of St. Michael's Church on Evergreen Street. So a lot of the community that the mayor was talking about, Miguel was talking about, is the community that I grew up in. So I realized really at a young age that there was a division in our community. I was granted an educational opportunity outside of my 14605 zip code. And what I saw was that my community is struggling, but my friends at school and their families were struggling too. And that quickly made me realize that I wanted to be a social worker when I grew up. I wanted to help the community. My mom was a softball coach, my aunt super involved in our community to this day. I wanted to be a part of fixing the problem or the problems that I saw. Went to college, got my degree in social work, I worked at the Center for Youth Services. I worked alongside a lot of organizations like Teen Empowerment. I see there's some individuals that are working there. And I realized that all the work that I did every day was really important work, but there was something that was getting in the way of what I was doing every day. And I quickly realized that it was the systems, it was the policies, and there were people in positions making decisions about my life and the life of the people that I cared about the most that I felt didn't represent our communities. So I decided to run. I had already been working on campaigns. So as the mayor mentioned, right, get involved. I had been working on campaigns. I believed in in democracy, if you will. But then I decided to run. My first time around, I was unsuccessful. I learned a lot, if you will. So I don't like to use the term unsuccessful because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about being a candidate, and I decided to run the second time for many different things. But one of the main reasons was there was a slate of 29 individuals who were running for county legislature, and none of them looked like me, represented the Latino community. And I just did not feel okay with that. So I decided to run because I truly believe representation matters. I believe that it's important to be really close to your community and represent it and just have a different kind of voice at the table. That's kind of the work that I do every day right now at United Way, because diversity, as everyone has said, is important for a lot of different reasons. And I can talk about that more.
Okay, and then my final question that I'm going to ask you is, how will you or are you working to ensure that Latinx representation will continue in every political office?
That's a great question. And yes, so when it comes to Latino representation, and I kind of said it a little earlier, I said, every day at my work. So I work United Way, and one of my roles is I'm the coordinator of something called the Latino Leadership Development Program, which, Gina, you're an alumni of. And really what we strive to do is connect voices with opportunities to represent their reality at tables of boards, committees, and commissions. So it's something that I do every day at work. It's government, right? So whether it be city council, county ledge, working in Congress, that is a board, right? That's in its essence, it functions as a board, as a committee, as a commission. And to me, it needs to be diversified. We know when we do research that the best boards are the most diverse boards.
Yes.
So yes, Latino representation, the mayor continued to say, you lift as you climb. I believe in that wholeheartedly. There are only but so many of us, and the work is hard alone. So please come along and let's work together.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We'll be back to ask you some more questions. We want to get Representative Joel Jones the opportunity to speak. So Renita, you're on mute.
My apologies. So Representative Jewel Jones, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out your day to be on with us. So for Representative Jewel Jones, he is a lifelong resident of the city of Inkster. Um, Representative Jones has made history when he was sworn in November 2015 as the youngest person ever to sit on the City Council of Inkster, Michigan. Yet Drew continues to make a difference in the community, a positive impact on public policy. I want to read the rest of his bio because I want him to share part of his story as well. So first of all, holla and thank you for being here. So at the age of 20, and I find you very inspiring because I know you're 24. I'm only 22, so it's awesome to see other young people out there doing great things, making strides, and really impacting their community on such a great level. So at the age of 20, you broke barriers to become the youngest city councilman. So what or who encouraged you to believe that you could become a city councilman at such a young age?
Yeah, definitely. And good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here. And I love that you said holla. That's like my favorite word ever. And I'm 25, actually, so I'm getting older. I'm a quarter of a century. But you know what I think it was, my parents just instilled so much of like wonderful values inside of me, and a lot of other people that helped raise me. And that old saying about, it takes a village to raise a child, I think that was such a thing when I was growing up. And so it's like I believed anything was possible. I knew that, whatever we wanted to do, I had so many people behind me who wanted to push us, who wanted to see us be great. And when people the idea came up, basically about, running for city council, I just felt so much of love. I felt like it was the right thing to do. And I just knew like whatever decision I ever made in life, that I just had those people there who were willing to support and willing to push. And so, even though I was young, even though I might have been unexperienced, even though I might have been jumping into something new, I was completely confident that, we was about to change the game. So.
Well, absolutely. I'm with you. It takes a village because Mayor Warren, City Councilman Melendez, Ms. Gina, like all of them is a part of my village and kind of helped me get to where I am today. So you made history yet again while still remaining in school, majoring in political science and finance. You're active in ROTC. You're in the Black Student Union and Student Veteran Association, and you won by 66%. It became the youngest state representative in Michigan. Like you're killing the game out here. Just for, like you said, quarter of a century you've been around. So congratulations. And so tell us, how did you manage to accomplish everything? It kind of still managed being active in school, in your city, and of course, social activities and probably other things that you have committed to. How do you manage all of those things?
Yeah, I think it wasn't really so much about management. It was really like I had to start making decisions. I had to make like conscious decisions about what I would be doing every single day. And so there were days when, I might have missed class, but or I might have missed different meetings, but I had so much communication, be it with my peers or with some of my colleagues that, no matter what I was doing and no matter where I was at, somebody knew and someone had it covered. And so, the management wasn't necessarily there because I'm still trying to figure out, how to get in the groove of things. But it's always just about choices. And so it's like wherever I need to be at, that's where I always decide to be. And it worked out because people they've seen what we were working on. They've seen what the team was trying to do. And so people were very understanding about the whole situation. I had professors when I was starting off new classes back in the day. And they would give me they would be very lenient with me, knowing like, hey, yeah, I think you need to go to that meeting. It was just in terms of like having so much a conversation with people that were over me or people that I had to work with. And it just worked out. But management, I don't think it's something that many of us ever get. And so it's something I still juggle with today, just because you get pulled in so many different directions. But I think it's so important to, I love learning new things. I love jumping into new experiences, jumping into new fights. And so I don't really manage things well. I just love working in terms of all kind of areas.
Yes, thank you so much. And, feeding off of that, kind of what is your why when you feel like you're being pulled in different directions, or if you feel like, man, I'm really tired? Because I know how that feels to be in college and committed to like 3 different things. And you're like, I got to miss class today, or I got this big assignment coming up. So, like, what is your why to kind of encourage you to move past those like obstacles and feeling like you're being pulled in so many different ways?
I would definitely agree with a lot that's been said already from some of, our sisters and our brother. It's the family, it's the people I represent. It's just really just wanting a better future, not only for myself, but for, the folks around me. And so, it requires you to the position you put. It's a quote I heard a while ago. It said, position always promises more than it can deliver. And so it's like, I don't ever want to just be a state rep or just be a city council person. And just go through the process. I want to actually do something. I would like to get something done. I would like to, the people who elected me to be able to say, hey, we really appreciate you being here. We love the work that you're doing and stuff like that. And so, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going. It's just knowing that it's so much on the table that we can change. And so much opportunity. And I've been exposed to a lot of different things from traveling or from talking to different people. And I know if it's out there and someone else is experiencing, that quality of life, that we can have it right where I'm from.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about, leaving that legacy and that impact, right? Leaving something greater for those who come behind us. I know we have a couple live questions, Miss Gina. I don't know if you want to start asking a couple just to, continue this great dialogue. And thank you to everybody that's on here right now. I think it's very important for our young people to hear from everybody and hear from, older people, younger people, kind of mixed generational, to hear about how they can make a change and how they could get to where people are today and go above and beyond. That is my goal when I'm working with students, is to always take it above and beyond that. I'm pouring into them, but the goal is for them to go further than I have. And, I'm young, I still got some miles to go, but if I could push them even past and further and get them started faster than how I was, then, hey, I have accomplished something already.
Thank you. I'm going to actually pull someone in to ask a question. I think it's Kimani Glover. I hope I didn't mess up the name, but I'm going to pull them in just so that they can ask the question themselves. Hi, Kimani. Can you tell us what school you're from and take yourself off of mute?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Imani Glover. I go to University Preparatory Charter School for Young Men, Rochester. Don't mind the bad lighting. I'm in a basement. It's just the quietest place in my house. Which question would you like me to ask? The first one I asked or the most recent one?
The most recent one that you just said first. We can't hear you.
Somehow muted. Oh, the basement.
I think it's the basement. It's the basement. So I'll ask a question for you, okay? You asked the question, what are some difficulties of going straight into political abs so young? And that's for Jewel Jones, Representative Jewel Jones.
I think in terms of it was difficulties, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really don't think it was any, because I think like being so fresh and being so new, like it was really just, this is a new territory. And I didn't really seek to assimilate and kind of like be like everybody else. I really just wanted to be myself. So it was kind of like I was bringing new ideas and new voice to the city council when I first joined. So it was like I was coming new turf, building with different folks, trying new things out, making whatever mistakes, learning from them, not making mistakes, having a great time. But I think, of course, if not focusing on yourself, it might be external things that, that might be some kind of challenges to you. I have people that definitely were saying, he's too young, he's too this, he's too that, or people trying to slow us down, didn't really want to see us succeed. But I didn't really entertain that too much. And so I don't think personally it was too many difficulties. It was just a new experience that I just welcome very openly.
Would anybody else like to answer that question? Because I know many of you are young and still in office, and are in office.
Yeah, I mean, this is Eversha, I can kind of answer that. So being younger and running for office, I've received comments when you knock on doors that are like, oh, I'm so excited to have a 12-year-old legislator. It's awesome to see you here, kid, which is all great, right? I've embraced that reality. But there are some kind of stereotypes that go along with being younger, may not be experienced enough or understand how to do certain things when it comes to being in office. But there is a skill set that's uniquely to us in our experiences, right? When you think about the county legislature, it is predominantly made up of white men who are plus 50. My experience is vastly different than that. So the conversations are a lot more richer because it's not all one viewpoint. So it comes with its obstacles, balancing time, figuring out if you want to go to a party or knock on doors. I heard some people talking about social, obligations and things like that. Friends and family. For myself, being younger and starting a family, right? So I have a 9-month-old son right now. The reality was when I had a conversation with HR at the county and said, I'm expecting, they're like, we'll get back to you because that is new. That's like, we don't have that conversation often with women. Because there's not a lot of women in my office. There's not a lot of women who are having babies when they're running or starting new. So there are a lot of obstacles, but there's a lot of support. I won because of young people. They were helping me every step of the way and were a powerhouse in ensuring that their voices were being heard, and so was mine. So it's possible. It's a little difficult, right? When you're running against someone who's twice your age, they've been around it's not my fault. They've been around twice. They've been around 2 times more than me. But you figure it out.
Does anybody else want to ask a question before we move on to the next one?
I'll jump in briefly and just say that, this is Miguel. For me, I didn't really think I was going to go into public office or public service in this way so quickly. Sometimes those opportunities find you, and the work that I've done, I'm only 34 years old. I say only. I know I'm ready to hit my midlife crisis this year. But I feel like I'm young enough, right? That being thrust into service for me, though, was one of the greatest joys of my career so far. I feel like I'm able to contribute in a way that is very meaningful to the community at large. And I would encourage more young people to start looking to public office and think about how they can influence city government, influence county government, and keep on going, go up to the state, go up to the federal level, because there's a lot of opportunities to change policies and systems that we all are very frustrated about in this community, in this country. And the only way we do that is if we start to push ourselves to look to it, to see ourselves in those shoes.
Okay, we have Josephine. Josephine, where are you from?
Hi, I'm Josephine. I go to Our Lady of Mercy School for Young Women. And my question is, do you think that there's like a specific academic track that somebody who wants to go into politics like necessarily has to take? And if so, like, what is it?
Are you directing it to anyone in particular, or?
No, no one in particular.
No. I guess the easiest thing is no, because I think that we all have different backgrounds. I think that so here in Rochester, like city council it's considered, it's a part-time job, but it's really a full-time job, right? And I think any elected office may be, consider a part-time job, but it really is a full-time job. But I think that you should follow your passion, follow your heart. So whatever your career choice may be, rather that's social worker, rather that's being a lawyer or a community activist, a teacher, a doctor, whatever it may be, if you follow your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And so I would say, and let the political side be in addition to. And so for me, by trade, I'm a lawyer, I'm an attorney. That was my passion, that was my love. I was able to get my academic training in that. However, life, as many, as everyone I think has indicated that are elected, took them along a different path. We all got here a different kind of way. And so I would say that, but get involved in whatever, you want, be the change that you want to see. I think that, as President Obama said, you be the change. But as it pertains to academic, there is no one path that's going to lead you to being in public service. Just follow your heart and follow your passion and be the change that you want to see.
Thank you. We have one more, and I'm gonna get her off and put the other person in.
If I may add also with that question is, I'm in education, but my goal is to eventually not just stay as a teacher, but to move up so I can get to the policy side of education to start making true change in education. So I agree with Mayor Warren. If you follow your path, you never know where it's going to lead you eventually.
Yeah, I'll briefly add to that and say, I was a psychology major in college. I thought I would be a high school guidance counselor. And then I did an internship one summer at Ibero. And then when I graduated, they called me and said, hey, what are you doing? Do you want this part-time job? The rest is history. I've been here 12 years. So you never know where your path will take you.
Thank you. Okay, we have, is it Ayana?
Hi, I'm Anaya. I go to
Anaya,
School
okay.
Without Walls. I'm a youth advocate from Teen Empowerment. And I would like to ask, considering the time we're living in and the issues that our community is facing, what is a piece of advice you'd give to the youth and hope to motivate and inspire the adolescents in the city of Rochester?
Great question. So one of the things, and I'm excited you asked this question and I jumped in, but I started off as a peer educator at Action for a Better Community Action Front Center. I just started off by educating my peers on issues that were important to us at the time. And that's a lot of the work that Teen Empowerment does. So what I'd say is continue to do what you're doing every day. Understand that we are all frustrated and hurting in different ways, but the work still continues, and continue to work alongside your peers to advocate, ask awesome questions like this, and continue to have conversations specifically with people that you feel are policymakers or within your sphere of influence. That's what I would say.
Okay, I have one adult who wants to ask one question while we at it. Does anybody else want to answer that question while we at it before we hit that?
I think she did a great job with that.
I think she did too. We're gonna pull Gary Manuel in. He is from Project Urge. So let's see if we can get him in. I tried to do it ahead. All right, Gary, you can ask your question.
Okay, I don't know if you saw it in the chat, but I was just wondering how closely you work with RMAPI, and also you see a real effort to go into neighborhoods along the Poverty Crescent and build up leaders and connect with people who are really caring about the community and drawing them in to hear their conversation and hear what they have to say in a meaningful way.
So I would say from this the city's perspective, and thank you, Gary, for that question. Representative Jones, our MAPI is the Rochester Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative. It's an initiative that was started a number of years ago to reduce childhood poverty in the city of Rochester. And it was meant to bring different not-for-profit foundations, community, as well as government together to build a system of support for those people that were experiencing challenges. So for me, I have been at the table with our MAPI for since the very beginning and continue to support them. I'm excited that one of the initiatives that we worked very, very hard on, which was to get home healthcare workers additional dollars. Many of our home healthcare workers are the working poor. And then just this past week, the University of Rochester announced that they were not only going to pay home health care workers a $15 an hour minimum, a $15 minimum wage, but they were going to extend that to all of their employees. So we're excited about that. And so we work very closely. We many of the initiatives that were born out of our MAPI came right from the ground up, going into neighborhoods, talking directly to residents, going door to door. One initiative that the United Way, I see Yaversha had to jump off, but United Way Project Uplift. And it, that Project Uplift was a program that the ESL Foundation decided to fund, and it was to give people the that are in poverty an opportunity to get those emergency bills taken care of. What we realized is that from talking to them, you can be less than $1,000 away from basically losing everything, rather than a job, your car broke down, you're getting evicted, your hot water tank broke. And so through Project Uplift, these young people and, the advocacy from doing the door to door, we were able to get those dollars through the United Way, and they were able to give those to not-for-profit organizations and get those out the door to residents. And the average, grant is a grant, it's not a loan. The average, amount that is being dispersed is about $600 for people. And so for us, it's always it's a work in progress, but it's really listening to people and working with them. That's the way we're able to make sure that we respond to the needs of our people. And Gina, Yaversha says she's still on the Zoom chat. She just was taken out of. So Gary, thank you for that question. From a city perspective, from a not-for-profit perspective, all of us are working hard with our MAPI and our community to make sure our residents get what they need.
Yeah, and Gary, I'll add to that very briefly and say that a lot of the work that I've done, both professionally and now as a council member, has been focused on those neighborhoods that you're speaking of that are, close to, I don't like to use the word crescent, so that are, facing some challenges. And I believe in building up grassroots leadership. I've done a lot of work to create block clubs. We're working now to create some neighborhood associations in the Northeast. And I think that that's the way that we can start to address some of our chronic challenges, is to unite people, bring them together and have people-based solutions. We have communities that have the answers. We just got to give them the keys for them to help drive the solutions.
All right. So one last question, and it goes for everyone because we're getting ready to get off right now. We are a little over, but we want to ask each and everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to each one of you for coming on today. We really appreciate you taking a Saturday. Joel, I know you're in there. You've been in, and it looks like you guys got sun over there. I do want to ask if you have any last minute words that you would like to say to our youth who are on today. So I will start with Representative Joel Jones.
Thank you, and once again, thanks for having me on. It's always good to just connect with folks. It's I think it's the social media stuff in the virtual world is so amazing because you can connect with people all over the world now. Although I just was in New York, actually last I was in well,
The
like
19th, right?
yeah. So always got love for New York. But what I would say to the young people, just from everything today, I would just say don't wait to get all your ducks in a row to get started. Just get started early. Don't wait for anything. It's definitely possible, and it's that old quote that says you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. I mean, look at a lot of people on the call who started off younger, might have came from different backgrounds. We're kind of anomalies. We're strangers to the typical political arena and whatnot. But we're here now, and we're opening up doors for other people to come after us. So, remember that it's not just about you, but things that you're passionate about, things that you love to do. You have to do that for generations that's coming after you. So just don't wait. Get started before you're ready. That's what I would say. And peace and love. And holla.
Holla. Mayor Warren?
I would echo everything that Representative Jones said. Get started, don't wait, get involved. Everyone can do something. We may not have the be Michael Jordan, but everybody can do something. So do what you can do. Find your passion and go after it, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams. You can achieve whatever it is that you put your mind to. We believe in each and every one of you. I'm not going to tell you that the road is going to be easy, because it's not. There will always be obstacles that you will have to overcome, but you have to keep going. You have to keep putting in the effort and putting in the work, because we know that, I think that all of us have faced challenges. Yaversha spoke about, the first time she ran, she didn't make it. The first time I ran, I didn't make it either. We both could have walked away and said, we're not going to do this. I lost by 7 votes, and but 2 years later, I came back and I won by 80% of the vote. So I think that you have to just recognize that sometimes when you go after something, as Representative Jones said, it may not, you have to get started. You may not be ready. You may not get it that time, but you can't give up. You have to keep working towards whatever goal it is that you want. And we believe that you'll be able to achieve it.
Yes, City Councilman Miguel Melendez.
Yeah, 2 hard acts to follow. I would echo both of those statements, but I'll also say that sometimes your path finds you. So don't get your mindset on one thing. You never know where you'll end up. Set some goals, be ambitious, hold yourself accountable, and don't put any roadblocks in front of yourself. You can do anything that you put your mind to. I know that's cliche, but I do think that sometimes we see ourselves in certain places and we limit ourselves. We have to be open. So be open as you embark on your journey. Don't let someone tell you you can't when you can, and find your passion along the way. Thank you.
Any Yaversha, County Legislator?
Yeah. Again, thank you for having me today. All of the words that were just shared, and thank you, Representative Jewell, for sharing the sentiment of get ready or get started before you're ready. I think that is probably the most profound thing I've heard in a while. We often allow fear to stop us from doing something. So that sentiment, I think I'll just echo that sentiment. Just get started, start doing something in order to get to where you would like to be, or where you think you're going to be, or you may not even realize you're going to end up there. As Councilman Miguel Melendez mentioned, never in a million years would have thought I would be the minority leader of the Democratic caucus of Monroe County Legislature. Like, that was not, my family didn't talk about politics. My mom didn't vote for a long time. So I never thought I would be here, but I just knew that I had to work hard because I wanted the community to be better. So just follow your passion.
Thank you so much for answering that for everyone. Representative Jewel Jones, holla. We will be having you come down here in person one day soon. We hope to have you down here with all the young youth here and, you know, talking to them in person after all of this. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming. And can everybody just say holla? That's his little theme, you know.
Holla.
Love that.
We want to thank everyone for coming today, especially on a Saturday. I know it's difficult, but I definitely want to thank you. I also want to tell you, mask up, protect your circle. Thank you, Teen Empowerment. Thank you, UPrep. Thank you, My Brother's Keeper. We also had the Cheryl Esperanza Leadership School here. And thank you, everyone. Like us on Facebook, Hills of Greatness, and thank you for coming.
All right, Gina, take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day. Bye.
Thank you, Renita, for being my co-host.
Oh, thank you.
I'll call you in a